All right. Music time. All right. So, the story behind the brand. Jazz in the Gardens, Miami Gardens. By the way, if you don't have your tickets, you might not get it. So, this logo is definitely one of our favorites because of the journey that it took us through. Jazz in the Gardens is a premier festival in the Southeast region. I'm saying that on purpose because I don't want people to make it a limited thing, to think it's just a Florida event. The reason why we're pointing this out, people come from across the nation for Jazz in the Gardens. It's a really dope event. You should check it out. Link is not going to be below. We don't do that, but just Google Jazz in the Gardens. But going back to the logo, one of the main things at Medium 4 is we believe in simplistic and minimalistic design. I'm saying both words on purpose because a minimum design can have a lot of elements to it, but a simplistic design will actually remove a lot of your elements to make the logo good for other purposes. When we're designing certain logos, we have to think about what we're designing them for. And one of the key components for Jazz in the Gardens is apparel. You have to design apparel and you have a lot of large printed materials. And you're talking about banners, you're talking about billboards, and you want things to be clear. Although this is a music festival, one of the key components of Jazz in the Gardens that we focused on was actually removing all musical elements from the logo. We felt that was a little bit redundant because you already had the word jazz in it. Redundancy can actually kill a brand because it makes it harder to focus on the purpose of the brand. You do not always want things to be redundant. There are ways to create double redundancies and other elements where you're like, oh, I see it, but this isn't one of those, and I'm going to explain to you why. If you actually pay attention to this logo, which we're going to pop up on the screen real quick, Jazz in the Gardens was actually broken down to an acronym. It was focused on the JITG. This was actually done by my business partner, Dante Filiot. He's one of our font specialists, and I'm going to explain that to you really quick too. Fonts take months of research. It's not something you just do. There's more fonts than there are human beings alive. Now, I'm exaggerating, but in theory, when you're looking at them online to figure out the perfect font for a logo, it starts to feel that way. Font specialist, which was Dante, what we did was we focused on actually making a clean, bold logo that was gonna work good with embroidery. One of the sayings at Medium 4 is, if it's not gonna look good on a t-shirt, it's probably not a brand. There's a difference between making a logo and creating a brand. A brand builds a lifestyle behind something. So this logo has now been around for 7 years. We made it very simplistic, very minimalistic, and the way we change the vibe and the look and feel of the logo is through color changes. Some brands do have very strict color rules, but other brands have color changes to change the season or to change the annual aspect of the logo itself. So if you continue to look at this logo, you'll see Music Fest. Why is Music Fest so small and kind of in that bottom right-hand corner? Well, because Jazz in the Gardens is more than just a music festival. They have different conferences, they have different events. So we didn't want people to focus on Music Fest itself versus it just being Jazz in the Gardens creating a brand. Another way to think about this would be Essence Festival. Essence Festival is not just a concert, it is a full event that happens in New Orleans. And pretty much, Jazz in the Gardens is the Essence Festival of the South or of the Southeast region. So that is the story behind the brand of Jazz in the Gardens with Miami Gardens.